It's a new week, it's Betting Weekly WTA show, and I am Nigel Seeley, your host, and joining me to break through and look at all this week's tennis WTA action is our WTA handicapper. It's Rory Jiwani. Rory, good afternoon to you, sir. How's your week been?
It's not been busy, actually. Been really busy. But, some interesting tennis. We've had, obviously, Rome, and the bookies got it spot on. Once Jelena Rybakina had pulled out, the top four in the betting reached the semi-finals, and then the top two, Swiatek and Sabalenka, again in the final. And I got it wrong. I thought Sabalenka was playing better than she had in Madrid. Certainly once she'd scraped past Elina Svitolina to reach the quarterfinals. But you've got to convert break points. It's absolutely key. She didn't play that well in the first set, but in the second, she failed to convert any of her 7 break points. And that's the ball game. Swiatek didn't drop a set in the whole of the tournament, and she's proved that she is a cut above the rest on clay. She's now minus 125 for Roland Garros. So we'll have a look at those odds at some point. But she's just incredible. Those 7 break points as well. It wasn't just Sabalenka squandering them. Swiatek really did. I suppose the Americans would call it clutch. She was very good in the pressure situations, and she's won Madrid, she's won Rome. Just Roland Garros to come.
Yeah, and she does look ominous, doesn't she? The form she's showing at the moment, Swiatek, we thought she might be vulnerable last week, and I certainly did.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, and it wasn't proven to be. She is just a cut above the rest at the moment. But, you are paying that those prices because of the dominance that she's showing. You said that she might be minus 125. Let's have a look at the current odds with BetRivers to win the French Open Women's title, which starts just in a couple of weeks' time, or weeks' time from now. And we'll have you covered here on Betting Weekly WTA. We'll go through the market. There's really a question who's going to stop Swiatek, and the minus 125 has long gone, Rory. Now it's minus 134 with BetRivers, and that is contracting in price as we speak. She's probably going to start closer to minus 150 to win this tournament. Her nearest rival is Sabalenka, who she's beaten twice in the last 2 finals. She's $5. Coco Gauff, who she's always beat since she beat again here in the semi-final, she's 7-1. Rybakina, injury concerns. Is it going to play quick enough for her? She's 8-1. Daniela Collins obviously been the story of the year, sensational. But clay, is it her service? She's 22-1. Zachary 25. Ken Zheng 30. And then we go into the list of Osaka at 60, Ons Jabeur 40, Svitolina at 61. It's very, very, very hard at this moment in time now to see anybody who can stop Iga Swiatek the way she's playing at the moment. The question for me, though, is whether Iga Swiatek can convert this clay court form into Wimbledon. We know it's one tournament that has eluded her, and she's not the favourite to win Wimbledon. She's third favourite behind Rybakina and Sabalenka. A lot will obviously come down to the weather conditions in SW19 in June and July, but I think I can't see anyone stopping Swiatek on the French Open. I really can't. We've got to wait for the draw and look for the each-way option and the other half to her. Surely it's the only play we can have.
Yeah, we have got each-way betting there, and Roland Garros did play slower than pretty much everywhere else last year on clay. So, maybe you're looking at someone to, a real clay court specialist who could go on a run, but Swiatek looks bomb-proof in Paris at the moment. As far as Wimbledon is concerned, the problem for Swiatek, she just hasn't played that many matches on grass. The grass court season is so short that she just doesn't have that much experience on the surface. It doesn't play to her strengths, especially the low bounce on grass. With that forehand she has, that big topspin forehand that she likes to employ, similar to Coco Gauff. And I still can't see her winning Wimbledon. I think Rybakina is... I think she might be the favourite with us, or she's certainly in the market leaders with us for Wimbledon, but I'd be all over Rybakina for Wimbledon. I don't think Swiatek's won the Australian Open yet, so that one's still missing as well. I'm sure she would win that at some point, or she'd have a good chance of winning that at some point. But in the French, she's utterly dominant. Yep,
and that is shown by the odds of minus 134, and they're getting lower all the time. Swiatek on that sort of trajectory to win the French Open.
But would you back her at that price? She can win without my money, to be honest.
I would bet her at minus 125, I think.
Really?
Yeah, I think if you worked out her route each match, I think she'd be minus 200 to 1 on, 500 to 1 on in the first round, second round. When she gets to the quarterfinals, even if she plays Coco Gauff, what should be 10 on, 9 on, and then if you worked out a mathematical route, even in the final against Sabalenka, I think she'd be a good. If she got to play Sabalenka, that would be a worse scenario. I think she'd be 3 on in the final.
Don't think pressure might come into it though. I mean, last year she was a breakdown in the third set in the final against Karolina Muchova.
Yeah, well, I suppose I would be looking to hedge out, but the trouble is just there's nobody. There is just not one person I could see who can beat her. And there's no one in that field. I mean, you've got Sabalenka, and other than that, she's beaten her twice. I just can't see anyone challenge her at all, really.
I mean, she could beat herself. That's the only, that's the question. That's I suppose she's got more chance of beating herself than someone playing amazingly well and beating her. She'd have to be a long way below form to be beaten in Paris, given everything we'd seen. But we'll see. I mean, she might just get a difficult first round match, and you never know. It happens in slams, but she does look bomb proof at the moment.
I think the thing is as well is that we approach betting slightly different to what a lot of people do. A lot of people look at someone like Iga Swiatek and just think that's buying money, and it's been profitable at the French Open for many years. And it's similar to Nadal, really. I mean, Nadal was starting in the French Open minus 250, minus 3, and people were just betting Nadal and picking up at every tournament, at every French Open. I never once bet Rafa Nadal because I always wanted to bet the guy who would beat him, a Corretcher or someone in the bottom half of the draw to get each way, because I found that the better value for me was to collect on the each way part of the bet rather than betting Nadal. So really it becomes down to your strategy and how you want to play. But I still think at minus 125 I'd play it. Minus 134 I wouldn't. I think expected to start about minus 150, and I would like to find someone to oppose Sabalenka with in the bottom half of the draw who could probably get through to the final, like we did last year on Muchova, within touching distance of cashing a big ticket there. But anyway, that's next week, and we're going to have you covered here this time next week. Myself and Roy will be going through the women's draw, as well as Sean with the men's draw as well, at the second major of 2024, the French Open over in Paris. But before then, we have a couple of tournaments to go through this week. And the first one is it's a WTA 500 event. Very unusual to have a 500 event before a major. You usually get a 250 event. It's an event over in Strasbourg. And the strategy here always would be for me to think to yourself, well, it's a week before a major. Is anyone going to be up for it? Is anyone sort of really that bothered? They want to get themselves into some kind of form, but they don't really want to win it. But when you look at the previous winners here, Svitolina's won it twice, Kerber, Krejcikova, Jastromenska. This tournament has done well for favourite bettors over the years, or players in the top end of the market, when you probably wouldn't expect that a week before a major.
Yeah, and of course, when Barbara Krejcikova won in 2021, she followed up in Roland Garros. So, we always, obviously, all the top players are taking
I would be
break.
shocked, though, if anyone in this draw went on to win in Roland Garros.
I would be. I mean, that's with Swiatek such an overwhelming favourite. Yeah, it would be a surprise if lightning struck twice. But there are some good players here, players who are lacking a bit of form, lacking a bit of, practice on clay. Margetta Vondrausova is a top seed. Beatrice Haddad-Meyer is 2. Danielle Collins 3. Madison Keys 4, and they all get buys into the round of 16. As far as Strasbourg goes, obviously it's in France, but it's looking pretty cool this week. Temperature's not getting much above 20 Celsius, so that's high 60s Fahrenheit. Bit of rain forecast. It's pretty slow. Last year the service hole percentage was 61.2, which is about slow normal for clay. Rome just gone played at 61.7 compared to 63 last year. So I'd expect Strasbourg to be a little bit slower than Rome. But we saw in Rome, the big hitters like Collins and Keys, they were able to do well, still able to hit winners and get cheap points on serves. So, it's slow, but it's not slow enough that, the bigger hitters and the bigger servers are going to be out of this.
You mentioned there the draw, and as Roy said, the 4 top seeds, Vondrausova, Haddad-Meyer, Collins and Keys do get buys through to the last 16. It's a 32-woman draw, and those 4 get buys. In the top half of the draw, the other seeds, we have Vondrausova, we have Pavlyuchenkova, Danielle Collins and Svitolina, which is definitely the toughest half of the draw. The bottom half of the draw, Alexandrova, Madison Keys, Samsonova and Haddad-Meyer. So The first thing is it's attracting me to the value in the bottom half because I think that top half is loaded. Let's have a look at the current betting with BetRivers. Danielle Collins is a plus 260 favourite. Now, who would have thought that Danielle Collins would be a favourite for a clay court event at the price of plus 260 the week before the French Open? Certainly not me. Shows you what the American has done this year in her retirement year, showing the best tennis of her career. Vondrousova is plus 450. Svitolina, who has won this twice. Ukrainian players have done very well here. Plus 550. Haddad Mairi's 10. Navarro 11. Krejcikova 14-1. I mean, in a field like this, for a former French Open champion, 14-1 Krejcikova. I know she had her problems with injuries, but that could look a big price. Come next Saturday, Kalinskaya is 16. Samsonova is 20. Someone I wouldn't trust at all on a clay court. Fernandez 22. Sinakova 28. Then we have Alexandrova at 30. Pavlyuchenkova at 33-1. What do you make of this draw? I think definitely the top half is where we want to be opposing. I think the top half looks very, very hard. And if you're looking for any value, I think the value's got to come in the bottom half because that top half is definitely loaded.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. I mean, you've got in the bottom half the 4 seeds, as you mentioned. You've got Keys, Haddad-Maia, Samsonova and Alexandrova. And Samsonova and Alexandrova are just in awful... Alexandrova is in woeful form. I think she got beaten 6-1 in her last match. And I actually saw her in Madrid and she didn't look happy there either. If Krejcikova was showing any sort of form, I'd be interested. But she's won just one singles match since the Australian Open, and injuries have really marred her campaign. So I think in the bottom half, it's pretty simple. It's Keys or Haddad-Maia. And they're both double-figure odds. Keys is playing really well. I mean, it looks a great opportunity for her. She'd face either Xinyu Wang or Dubai runner-up Ala Kalinskaya in her first match. Kalinskaya's had injury problems as well. I mean, she thumped Yelena Ostapenko in Miami, but then pulled out before her next match with a thigh injury. She's been a bit ordinary since, although she did thrash Clara Tolson in Rome. Then she fell in straight sets to Svitolina. Keys has been playing really well. I mean, she beat Coco Gauff in Madrid, then she fell to Swiatek. She lost to Swiatek again in Rome. She's a former Roland Garros semi-finalist. If she beats Kalinskaya, then she probably faces Magda Linette or Alexandrova or Sorana Kirstia, who she beat very comfortably in Rome. And then in the semis, it's Haddad-Maia, who she also beat in Rome, although that was close. That was 6-3 in the third. Haddad-Maia made it to the semis at Roland Garros last year. She had a point to win the second set against Swiatek. She took a set off the pole in the Madrid quarterfinals. Despite that, she hasn't been in the best of form. And out of the two, I just lean towards Keys. I mean, the top half looks really tough, as you said. I mean, and one thing that does put me off Collins, it's the week before a major, which is always a bit of a disclaimer. But for her, it's going to be her last Roland Garros. So, you'd think that she might be saving herself perhaps for Paris. But she has a good chance she'd face Vondrousova later on in the tournament. And Vondrousova has a 3-0 record against Collins. So, that would make me a bit wary about backing the American. Maybe not a week to put maximum faith in her. And as I say, this is the week before a major. Some players might not be giving 100%. For Keys, I think, I'm really interested in her. There's one other player of interest, and I think she's playing in the qualifying tournament today, and that's Yulia Putintseva, who's having a really good clay court season. And if she gets through, she could go far, although we'd have to see where she is in the draw. I should point out that play has started today, so some of these odds might change before you get a chance to get on. But my pick would be Madison Keys. I don't think her price of $10 would be affected by today's action, but I'm tempted by her, and a point each way on the American. I was going to say veteran, which is probably a bit harsh, but she has been around for a long time.
I didn't even read her out on the betting. I missed her out, Madison Keys.
Did you?
I went through all the runners and riders and didn't mention our pick. That's a bit poor for me. We've got a new system. We're using a new system, and for some reason the sun is shining. Look at it's
Yeah,
not very,
it's coming
not
right
very
off
good
your bonds,
shining
mate.
on the back bonds. That sun there. I mean, that's now I realise I need to put the blind down. It's much better. So and we'll come on to that in a little while. I might have to go and do that because it goes shining right in my eye. Anyway, let's have a look at. So Madison Keys is Rory's pick. I went through the list here, and I actually made a case for Haddad Maia. 10-1, but
she's the other one. It's one of those two, really.
But I did have Keys and Haddad Maia in the semi-final, so it could be a Seeley Jiwani showdown to see who makes the final in Strasbourg. But Haddad Maia with my bet. But remember, head across the BetRivers website. The tournament has started today on Sunday, but we couldn't record this because the order of play came out late. The final's on Saturday, isn't it? It's always a day early. I think.
Is.
So the final will be on Saturday because of the French Open. And remember, head across to BetRivers website. They will have all the first round matches for you tomorrow, the outright market as well, and a whole host of specials. Remember, BetRivers will offering a parlay boost as well on your parlays. So make sure you can put a parlay boost up on there as well. I'll come on to the parlay boost rules in a little bit at the end of the show. So that's our pick in Strasbourg. In the top half of the draw, obviously it's so hard, we can't really find a winner. It's difficult to say who's going to come through that section. But if I was going to have a bet, I think if she can get past the first round, I think Svitolina might do well there because I want to be fading Danielle Collins. But I want to take the tournament favourite on. But both agreeing at the bottom half, Madison Keys, our official pick, 1 unit each way at the current 10-1 with BetRivers. Okay, let's move across to Morocco in Rabat. This here looks a very, very difficult draw. It's a lot more competitive, not surprising because when you see the list of runners and riders. But before we go on to the draw and look at the previous winners and all the statistics and who has to play who, give us some information about this match while I try to sort this blind out. Tell me what's going on.
Yeah, well, Rabat, obviously, it's going to be a bit warmer in the Moroccan capital, not excessively so. Start out around 20 degrees Celsius up to 25 by Thursday. It's just a touch slower than Strasbourg. It was really slow the year before, but it wasn't as slow last year, maybe because there was a bit more heat. So, with it probably not being as hot this year, it will be slow. I mean, very similar conditions to Roland Garros. Previous winners, we've had a couple of right turn-ups the last couple of years. So last year, Lucia Bronzetti came from nowhere to beat Austria's Julia Grabher in the final. Another player who just had a really good week. That's still Bronzetti's only WTA Tour title. We had 2 unseeded players in the final the year before as well, with Martina Trevisan beating Claire Liu. And Trevisan went on to reach the semi-finals at Roland Garros that year. The tournament before that was in 2019 when Maria Sakkari beat Jo Konta in the final. Before that, 3 top seeds won the tournament. You had Elise Mertens in 2018, Pavlyuchenkova in 2017 and Timea Bashinsky in 2016.
She was the top seed.
Yeah.
Must have been a great year, vintage year, that one.
Yeah, exactly. But it's kind of I guess the proviso is it's the lower tournament the week before a slam, so it's slim pickings because all the top players aren't playing, and most of the good players are going to be in Strasbourg. So, the fields are a bit limited. It's an interesting tournament, though. You do have some good clay court players in there, and you've got a vulnerable top seed again. Yue Yuan, who's had a good year. She won a WTA tournament earlier in the season. I think it was in Austin. Could be wrong. But she's not shown much on conventional slow clay, as I like to call it, in her career so far. She's done all right indoors and on quicker surfaces. I think she had a decent run in Charleston, but on this proper slow clay she hasn't shown a lot. Number 2 seed is last year's Strasbourg runner-up Anna Blinkova, and then 3 is a real clay court specialist in Sara Sorribes Tormo. Bronzetti, the reigning champion, is 4. Arantxa Rus is 5, a good clay court player. Zhiyu Wang, the Chinese left-hander, is 6. Elisabetta Cocciaretto is 7. And then you've got Lin Zhu at 8, who's not shown much form at all of late.
Yeah, if you look at the draw, as Roy said there, there's no real massive advantage to me in the top half of the bottom half, really. Yuan is the number 1 seed. She played Cocciaretta in the quarterfinals. If it went to the seeding, Sorribes Tormo is the number 3 seed. She played Roos. Wang will play Bronzetti, and Ling Zhu will play Blinkova. But there are some dangerous opponents in or around outside of the seedings. Sheriff as well is playing very, very well at the moment. She's scheduled to play in round 2 against Arantxa Rus, the number 5 seed. And the one that interests me is that if they goes to form, the 2 previous winners here, the 2 Italians, Bronzetti, the number 4 seed, the winner last year in 2023, will play her fellow countrywoman Trevisan, the winner in 2022, in round 2 as well. So it's interesting to draw. I don't think there's much of an advantage really in either side. I think it's whoever's. I think all these players are more than less capable of beating anybody on their day. Rory's went through the winners before: Bronzetti 2023, Trevisan 2022, Zachary in 2019, Mertens in 2018, and Pavlyuchenkova in 2017. Again, it's a tournament where number 1 seeds or tournament people at the top end of the market have done better. There's not really many shocks, again, which is a surprise when you consider it's a 250 before a major tournament. And let's have a look at the betting. Sorribes Tormo, the Spaniard, who's playing well at the moment, she's 5-1 favourite, and I did like her, but the price has put me off a little bit. Maya Sheriff is 6-1. I've seen her play twice on clay. She was exceptional in one match I saw. I thought, of course, she's going to be a real quality player. Then I saw another game. She was absolutely dreadful.
Was that Hamburg? Was it Hamburg?
Hamburg. She was absolutely
because I
dreadful.
tipped her and she was terrible.
She played a young German girl. I can't remember the girl she played, but she was absolutely...
Everlease?
Something like that. But she was awful. Taylor Townsend, 8-1. I'm not quite sure. I don't understand the price of Taylor Townsend here with that one. That is definitely... I think she's opposable in round 1. Cocciaretta is 10-1. Azario 11-1. I'm always keen on Azario. I think she's got a nice draw in that bottom half. I think she's always has a huge following from the fanatical Colombian fans. We have Zygmunt at 11. We have... I can't read my writing. 12. We've got 12-1 here. Podoroska at 12-1.
Oh yeah.
Bronzetti at 14-1, and there's another one I can't read my writing as well. But anyway, head across to the BetRivers website. There's all the different runners and riders on there. I'll get the full list in front of me as Rory breaks down the latest betting.
This is a tricky one. I do actually think there is a bias in the draw. I think the top half looks tougher, especially the second quarter. You've got Sorribes Tormo, you've got Nadia Podoroska, who's a former French Open semi-finalist, Tatiana Maria, who likes slow conditions, as shown by her 2 wins in Bogota, although altitude is an advantage to her serve there. Sheriff's in that bottom second quarter, Roos is in the second quarter, and Maria Lourdes Carle from Argentina, who's very tough on clay. She beat Emma Raducanu and Veronika Kudermetova in Madrid. So I'm going for the bottom half. So I think it looks a bit easier. You mentioned a couple of players there. Sheriff has been pretty good of late. I mean, she beat Jasmine Paolini in Rome, and then fell to Victoria Azarenka in 3 sets. She then played. They've actually had a WTA Challenger event, a 1-2-5, the week just gone in Parma, and she reached the final there, and she was beaten by Anna Karolina Schmidlova. Trevisan, her form's been pretty poor. She beat Naomi Osaka in Rouen, but she's lost 4 matches in a row since then, so I'd be against her. Yeah, that Taylor Townsend price is puzzling, because she's a player who's shown all her best form on quicker surfaces, and this is not going to be quick at all. That's a very strange one for me. But in the bottom half, there's another player, an unseeded player I like, in Peyton Stearns.
She was the one I couldn't read the writing at 14-1.
Okay.
So there must be some kind of jinx here, because I missed the person out of the who you tipped in the last tournament in Strasbourg in Madison Keys, and I missed out because I couldn't read my writing on the Peyton Stearns as well. So hopefully that's a good omen.
Yeah, well, I think I called Peyton Stearns Shelby Rogers in Madrid. So she's good in slow conditions, although I wouldn't have expected her to be. She reached the Bogota final last year, where she lost to Tatiana Maria. They met again in Madrid, and I think Maria won a final set tiebreak. There was another close encounter between the two. Stearns reached the quarters in Rabat last year, lost to Sloane Stephens in a 3rd set tiebreak. Her form hasn't been great of late. She's reached a couple of quarterfinals on clay recently, including in Parma. But they were both in challengers, sort of 1-2-5 tournaments. She reached the quarters in Parma. I think she's better than her ranking of 82. Bronzetti and Trevisan are possible quarter-final opponents. Bronzetti, she's defending champion, but she's had just one win on clay this year. I just think at the prices as well, I don't think it would take a big leap of imagination to see Stearns go deep here. She beat Ostapenko at the French Open last year, and as I said, Roland Garros played slower than anywhere. So I think she's got a chance. She's had a couple of injuries and a couple of setbacks this season, and I think she's just gradually getting there and finding her game. And maybe this is the week it all comes together. So, as I said, I'm happy to avoid the top half because there are a number of good, solid clay court players, all of whom could go deep. But in the bottom, you've still got a number of possible winners and possible finalists. But I think Stearns is the one who's just, she's done well in these conditions, and I just think there's improvement in her. So I'm going to go a point each way on Stearns at $14.
Peyton Stearns is Rory's pick, so he's gone for two American players this week on a clay court in Europe before a French Open. That must be a first.
Yeah.
Peyton Stearns and Madison Keys. I really want to oppose Taylor Townsend. She's lost her last three clay court matches, and I saw her play the other week, and I thought her conditioning looked pretty poor as well for a clay court. And Rakhimova is her opponent in round one. You can bet 3-1 on Rakhimova. I think that's a massive price. So I'm going to oppose Taylor Townsend in the outright market and in her match. I think she could be an early casualty. The person I like was Osorio. I always like Osorio in these kind of tournaments.
Yeah, she won obviously in Bogota this year, having shown no form at all, and she's dipped again since. And I remember your sort of justification for backing her was home support, and that really did work in her favour in Bogota. I'm not sure how many Colombians are going to make it to Rabat.
You will be surprised.
But there'll be a few.
Surprised.
And there won't be many people there, so it won't take many of them to make a relatively large noise. So you never know. I just think on form, she wouldn't be one. But she wouldn't be one to trust. But she's in an open bottom half, and if she gets going, she could go deep. But I do like the look of Stearns in that bottom half.
Those Colombian fans, the only people who have more air miles than me, Rory, and they do get everywhere. I did mention earlier on in the show that BetRivers have a net gains daily parlay boost. Score more value on your tennis parlay each day with the BetRivers net gains profit boost. Log in every day to claim your profit boost for a tennis parlay, then make your tennis parlay of at least 3 legs. Each legs must have odds of -150 or longer. Depending on your loyalty level, you'll get a boost of at least 25% and as much as 50%. See the BetRivers app for more details and grab your parlay boost. So that's it. The two tournaments, Madison Keys to 10-1 each way in Strasbourg, and in Rabat we are going for Peyton Stearns at 14-1 each way. Head across to the BetRivers website. The outright markets will be updated on Sunday, Monday morning. You should have them all back up on the website. You should be okay for Rabat, but Strasbourg may be suspended by the time this show drops. You'll have all the first round matches as well. Huge amount of markets, probably about 25 to 28 different markets on these 250 and 500 women's events. A great service from BetRivers, and remember, we have you covered here on the tennis. It's the French Open next week. The team with myself, Rory and Sean will go through the men's and the women's matches. This time next week we're previewing the tournament winner here on Betting Weekly WTA and Betting Weekly Game Bet Match. You can download the podcast Betting Weekly WTA on your preferred podcast provider. Subscribe to our YouTube channel Betting Weekly Studios. There is a huge amount of content there. You can have all the Champions League final, the Europa League Cup final, the conference final, and Euro 2024. The seasons maybe be over, but the biggest soccer tournament of the summer is just a month away, and we have some fantastic content coming your way. So there's no rest for the wicked, Rory. No rest for the wicked. There isn't. That's it for today. Enjoy your rest of your weekend, Rory, and we'll be talking about the French Open this time next week. And can Iga Swiatek get stopped or get beat? I don't think she can, but we'll see over the next week or so. Interesting to see where that draw develops. Okay, take care, all your very best. Good luck with your wagers, and we'll speak to you all again soon.